Do you remember I spoke to you about having a clear head, a deep heart, and a thick skin? Do you remember that? Yes? Okay. Now is the time for us to really understand that what it takes to be creative. You see, even if you try, and I'm sure you would have tried, but even if you try a slightest creative idea, you will always receive resistance from people. Isn't that true? Correct? You will be receiving resistance from people. Now, there are two ways of going about it. One is that you'd really bother about everybody and anybody around you, that he should also not feel bad, that person should also not feel bad, he should also be happy with me, this person should also be happy with me. Or you can look at slightly differently, you're saying that it's okay. It's okay if people are unhappy with me. But in our Indian society, what happens is that we have always been told from the very childhood days that if others are happy, you are happy. If your uncle is happy, you are happy. If your masi is happy, you are happy. If your aunt is happy, you are happy. If your parents are happy, you are happy. So much so that even if your strange neighbors are happy, you are happy. And in the pursuit of making people around us happy and trying to seek social validation, are you happy? Are you okay? Am I upsetting you? We forget what we have to do in life. And one of the big reasons why creativity flourishes so well in the Western Hemisphere is because the Western Hemisphere is a very individualistic society. Right from the moment a child is born in the US household, where does the child sleep? Not between the parents. Child sleeps in a separate cot, in a separate room upstairs. The moment the child grows up, the child has to fend for its own pocket money. Now the child may do mowing the lawn, the child may be babysitting somebody. As the child grows up, the child may be attender at a gas station. But the child has to fend for himself or herself. And that develops a sense of individuality. And when this child comes up with a brilliant idea, he or she doesn't feel compelled to convince the parents, to convince people around, so that am I okay? Am I doing it well? But in our societies, a child is sleeping with parents till the child becomes a parent, right? We pamper our children, we are doting our children so much, and that's the reason we don't create an entrepreneurial streak, a creative streak in our children. Now, I'm not claiming that you go and change your parenting style or you go and fight with your parents that why do you love me so much? Well, that's a society, because in our societies, social bonds are far more valued than commercial bonds. Okay, because when somebody falls sick in the Western world, the guy can be tossed to an old age home. But in our societies, that's a taboo. We have to take care of our ailing parents all through our life, and which is a part of the culture, nothing right or wrong about it, just that we need to accept it. But the bearing on creativity is very serious. So here is a very simple framework that I would like you to start thinking about and start considering, that where is you? Creativity starts with you. The creativity can happen because you are dissatisfied with something. Creativity can happen because you aspire to do something. Creativity happens because you've been asked to do something, or you just love doing it. And I'm not saying that every time it has to be love, but be clear about that. So it all starts with you. The first thing you have to understand is that I have to be responsible for my own mental, emotional, and physical well-being. You know, when in the aircraft, when they give this instruction during the time of emergency, oxygen masks will be deployed from the overhead bins. What do they say? Put your oxygen mask first before helping others. Correct? Which means charity starts with home. You need to take care of yourself first, and then you take care of others. Because if you don't do that for a moment, if you don't do that, and I'll give you an example of my own mom. You know, when I was growing up, I saw my mom working from morning till evening, to begin with doing household chores, then teaching us, and she consistently skipped her breakfast. She took a very late lunch, she skipped on exercises, and she became obese. After some time, she developed diabetes. Now, no doubt that she really poured her heart and soul for me bringing us up as children. But now, when we look at her, we really feel pained. Now, if only I could tell her that you should have taken care of your health better when we were children, maybe she would have become much more independent at herself. So, all I'm trying to offer to you, the reason I gave this personal example to you is that when you are trying to be creative in life, you have to ensure that you are taking care of yourself first of all. And if you don't take care of yourself to begin with your health, then you end up becoming a burden on people around you. and that's not a good practice. And I've seen many teenagers burning themselves up. They do sleepless nights, they get into substance abuse, and they abuse their body because their body is still young. Your body is still young. At 20s, even if you have 2-3 days altogether without sleep, the body doesn't feel the heat. But once you're 40, then it starts showing up. Then you start developing complications in your life. So take care of yourself first. No shame in that. Take care of yourself physically, take care of yourself emotionally, take care of yourself spiritually, and take care of yourself mentally. So these are the various ways in which you to look at yourself. Okay, that's the number one. Then you draw a circle around yourself and ask the question, who are the 5 most important people in your life? 5, mind it, not 10, 5. And the reason I'm stopping at 5 is because it's a very serious question. The more number of people that you add in the circle, the more become your obligation to convince them, to take their validation that am I doing it right? And that can be very inundating. Imagine you have 10 people to convince about a new idea versus 1 person to convince about a new idea versus nobody to convince about a new idea. I'm sure if you're convincing 10 people, not only it's going to take long time, but it might just happen that you lost your enthusiasm. And why do you think 10 people are right? If it is such a great idea, if it is such a new idea, why do you have to go and seek anybody's permission? You have to go ahead at it and see to yourself that if it succeeds, it succeeds. It doesn't, that's okay. That's absolutely fine with you. So who are these people? These could be your parents, these could be your children, this could be at a future point of time your spouse, or this could be some mentor, a teacher, a very important friend, but keep it to 5. The trick is to keep it to 5. In your 20s, it's very high proclivity that you would have to add people to your life. You'll keep adding, oh, this is also my friend, this is also. Every tie that you make in your life, it costs you. It's not easy. Every time that you get a person in your life, you have to carry the relationship with you. And if you are coming with anything radical, suppose you say that I don't want to have a full-time job, I want to start a business. If you have only 2 people to convince, it becomes easy. But if you have 10 people to convince, you know what happens next. So it's you, then the inner orbit. And what I mean by those 5 people are, these are the 5 people who will fight tooth and nail for you. These are the 5 people who will not only give blood to you, but if need be, they'll also give their kidney to you. They'll give their eyes to you. They'll give their organ to you. They'll give their time to you. They'll give their emotions to you. These are the people that you need in life. As I'm into my 40s, I'm realizing the importance of having very few important people in life. If you try to convince a lot of people, be assured that they will end up convincing you rather than you convincing them. And why to convince anybody else? And then rest of the world. The outermost piece is rest of the world. Now, what I have discovered about peak performance, what I've discovered about successful sportsmen, successful entrepreneurs is that they have a wall around themselves. As somebody like Rafa Nadal would say, that I create a wall around myself and my family is a cement of the wall. So he is very, very private person and he surround himself with very select people and they shield him from the vagaries of the world. Because when you are slightly successful as an inventor, as an entrepreneur, people will start influencing you. People will start demanding things from you. Complete strangers will start associating themselves with you. And that is where you will feel the heat. And if you are not invested time in maintaining good relationships with people at the very starting point, then creativity would elude you. And the reason I'm talking about some of the psychological aspects of creativity is because these are not discussed in schools and colleges. When we talk about a Henry Ford, when we talk about an Albert Einstein, when we talk about a Thomas Edison, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, we seldom talk about their personal relationships. We seldom talk about their social ties. But what you would discover the more you will read about them is that they were very ferocious about who is coming into their inner orbit and who is not. They are generally very, very private people. Okay? I am not saying that creativity requires you to be inclusive or exclusive, introvert or extrovert. Now that's not the point, because we have seen both introverts and extroverts being highly creative. But creativity definitely requires you to be selective. Selective not just in terms of the problem or the solution or the kind of ideas, but also highly selective with respect to the people. Okay, so in summary, what I would like to offer to you is that pay yourself first. Charity starts with home. If you take care of your body, if you take care of your peace of mind, if you take care about your priorities, only then you can be of any value to anybody else, and only then you will be able to really converge and conserve your energies so you can create something phenomenal. Thank you.